flooded. St. Andrew's church roof was blown off. That island was experiencing some very strong winds at that time. Once again, this is at 9:10 this morning. I'm just going to give you a time frame of when all of this would have taken place. All of these reports coming in before noon this morning, between 2 and noon this afternoon. That gives you a good picture of what has been taking place in some of those islands over the past few hours. The reports are still coming in. There's so much more to report, but we cannot reiterate enough that MENA is the official reporting agency. A lot of what you are hearing, reports coming from eyewitnesses, residents, even family members who have spoken to residents, as you will hear a little later. So it's important that we keep that in perspective.
Shanique Hanna, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Tell us, because you were telling me something a little earlier while I was downstairs in the newsroom that I hated to hear, but we all need to hear it. What is happening down there with you in Akron?
Well, here in Lovely Bay where I live, we have complete loss of homes. We have a lot of roof damage, and a lot of our lines are down. The big trees, a lot of trees are down. And we have 2 ponds that meet and causing us not to be able to go back into the main settlement. We have flooding in one area. Very, very bad down here. And right now it's still blowing pretty hard and we're still experiencing rain.
Everybody, you haven't lost any lives, have you?
No, there's no loss of lives.
Loss of property?
Yes, only extensive property damage. Flying, garbage cans flying, you know, a lot of things of that nature.
Obviously, you're talking to me, so you still have some communication. You in communication with the administrator and other people who might be able to help you?
Can you repeat that again, please?
I said you're talking to me, so obviously you still have some communication. Have you been in communication with the administrator and the police, I imagine, and other persons who might be able to help you?
Well, at the time, the communication is not really up. Our phone system is down. I'm talking to you from a cell phone that is strapped in the window, but I can't even hear it because if I move it, it will go out of signal. Okay,
well, hopefully they can hear us on the radio, and somebody can get to you. You are in Lovely Bay, you said.
No, well, we got out. We're out of shelter now. We're out of shelter.
You are out of shelter now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that is a good thing that you are at the shelter, and obviously the advice is you need to remain there until you get the all clear, because from what you're telling me, obviously already the island has sustained damage, and anybody going out now, it would not be a good idea for you to go out there. But we're going to check back with you a little later on tonight. Okay?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Also out there in the island is Shanique Miller. She is presently in Exuma, and we spoke with her a couple minutes ago, and she gave us an update on what is happening in Exuma.
Exuma has been taking a beating from Hurricane Irene for the last 2+ hours now, with wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour, some estimates around 80 miles per hour. There's been a steady rain for the past few hours as well. Now, the concern was about harbor swelling and also storm surges, and that is what really the situation is right now here on this island. The harbor has swollen. There is a lot of reports of downed trees and being blocking highways here on the island, and police have been about on the island all afternoon, even in this present condition right now, been around on the island trying to remove those trees that are blocking motorists from moving about. Of course, there aren't many people moving about, just really emergency and necessary personnel and vehicles, but they're going about trying to clear the streets so that there's no blockage and hindrance from persons trying to move about, even the emergency crew and, of course, my news team. Now, of course, the concern is flooding on this island. Already there are reports of a number of areas being impassable as the water has, from both sides of the street has come over to meet each other, really, and so that is the challenge here. We're about to go and assess the damage, if any. However, of course, it's perhaps expected with wind gusts at this intensity, and also for the length of time it's been happening.
We had some damage as far as power lines were down, shingles and plywood off the rooftops. There was minimal flooding in certain areas, but the roads are passable. And that there are trees which are blown over and probably in the road, but they were able to move most of them. So the roads are clear. But basically all the essential supplies, such as electricity and other stuff, are off.
Sergeant Munnings, we've been receiving reports here in Nassau that a church may have lost its roof and several homes may have lost their roofs as well. Are you able to confirm any of that information or give us anything that may help us to get a better understanding of what's happening?
Yes, there was a church in Irene called St. John's Baptist Church. As part of the roof, the shingles and the plywood were removed from the roof and has experienced some damage.
Okay, do you know of any reports of any other homes that may have received roof damage or any other structural damage at this time?
Yes, we have structural damage also in the Crooked Island and Central High School. I think one or two sections of the block of that school, the roof is completely off of it. And one or two residents has reported to me that they confirmed that their roof has caved in. So basically the system is just structural damage and mostly rain, but no flooding.
Okay, so can you tell me what has happened to those individuals whose homes may have sustained damage? Where were they taken and what had happened to them?
Right now we have two fences that were utilized. One was a landfall point, but I was told that confirmed that there were no persons in the shelter at the time. But now we have another one at St. Paul's Baptist Church in Capitol Hill. At the time there were only 15 persons in the shelter, but right now I couldn't give an exact number of persons in the shelter now. But those persons were evacuated and they seek shelter at those centers.
Sergeant Munnings, also, can you tell us, were there any reports of any injuries or any fatalities at this point?
At this point, we do not have any reports of injuries nor fatalities. Just major damage and one or two flood areas.
Okay, Sergeant Munnings.
Well, for an even better update than that, we have Father Kerr in Crooked Island on the live line. Father Kerr, first of all, how are you doing?
Very well, thanks.
And how is Crooked Island doing as we speak?
Well, Crooked Island is basically somewhat devastated with all the power lines just about down. We had our roof off St. John's Native Baptist Church. And I think the second wave at the end of the storm moving out, there was a second shock into a lot of people's home that they're not really aware of, those who are in shelters as I ride around and come back. Of course, the devastation at the high school, and many others. I go all the way up to Seaview. There's many, all the tall trees are down in the roads, and so there's quite a bit of blockage as you continue to ride in, because I'm just now coming in from a second ride.
And they're reporting swelling seas as high as 45 feet waves on the southern side of San Salvador. And also we have reports in Rumpke of some localized flooding near some of the low-lying areas.
What do you know about Rumpke?
Rumpke is reporting that they're gusting well over 100 miles per hour in wind. There's localized flooding between and the low-lying area that's on the north side where the BTC building is and just before you get to the shelter. And so they're concerned that there's a pond there that would have flooded or overflowed into the road with the rain. Rain being heavy on that island also. And so persons who would heated hour wanting to take shelter at St. Christopher's, and we're hoping that all of the persons concerned in that low-lying area would have done that, because the chief counselor would have made one final roundabout along with the police to encourage people to go into the shelter. But they've lost
Also, earlier reports from NEMA indicating that there was flooding in Clarence Long Island. There are reports of damage on a number of homes. The roof at St. Paul's Anglican Church was damaged as well. Photos of the damaged church were posted on Facebook. And social networking is certainly helping to bring the effects of this storm to the country a lot faster.
That island, and will continue to do that throughout the night and morning hours with hurricane force winds. We're still experiencing tropical storm force winds in Eleuthera, Cat Island, San Salvador, and the Exumas, and there are improved conditions from Rumkey all the way down to Matthew, Tananagua, and the Turks and Caicos Islands. At 11 o'clock this morning, the center of Irene was located at 25.9 degrees north, longitude 76.8 west. That puts Irene about 25 miles south-southeast of Abaco, 75 miles north-northeast of Nassau, and it's moving towards the north-northwest, so by about 2 o'clock, which is in another hour or so, we expect to send it to brush Marsh Harbor, Abaco. That's the east coast of Marsh Abaco.
We're operating in support of the National Hurricane Center as Hurricane Irene continues to churn through the Atlantic, and now we're looking for stations in the Bahamas with measured or estimated weather observations. Over. No stations heard. Are there any relays? Over.
Well, conditions were pretty bad in Cat Island today. In fact, Corporal McCoy told us he couldn't leave the shelter in Arthur's Town to do an assessment at the time we were talking to him.
Well, presently I'm in Arthur's Town, and the sea surge came over into the tenements. The road is completely submerged, at least about 4 feet of water. Sometime around 4:30 this morning, I had to evacuate the station and go into the local government building or government office. And when I came here, half of the roof is off. This is much higher ground, so this is where we presently at, in the northern section, and the wind is still blowing at least about 75 miles an hour.
The administrator's home in Cat Island lost its roof. Arthur's Town and Dumfries experiencing some flooding. This is the information we received from NEMA. Also, the police station in Arthur's Town, the roof was blown off, and the police vehicle was flooded. As you would have heard, Corporal say that it was disabled at the time. Also, NEMA confirming that St. Andrew's Church there, the roof was blown off, and overall, Cat Island experiencing some very, very harsh conditions. We do want to reiterate, too, that according to NEMA, all power lines are down in Cat Island, and there is no communication with folks on that island. So certainly that was a blessing in a way for the lady's husband to get in a call to her. But as we have told you, there is no power, no communication with Cat Island, so it may be a while before we hear any more information coming out of that island. Also, earlier reports from NEMA indicating that there was flooding in Clarencetown, Long Island. There are reports of damage at a number of homes. The roof at St. Paul's Anglican Church was damaged as well. Photos of the damaged church were posted on Facebook. And social networking is certainly helping to bring the effects of this storm to the country a lot faster. Pictures are beginning to surface on Facebook of damage in various islands, even right here in New Providence. In Eleuthera, there are photos of a damaged tower. It shows the BTC Tower in Governor's Harbor, Eleuthera, snapped in half. Well, as we reported on radio earlier, Eleuthera is taking a pounding from Hurricane Irene. We spoke with an unidentified resident from Palmetto Point to get a report on conditions there at that time.
About 2 o'clock this morning, it started to get real bad, and then there was about a half hour ago, there was a little lull, and now it started up again, and, we're being pounded with an excess of maybe 100 mile an hour plus wind.
Have you guys taken all the precautions and you're ready for what's coming?
Yes, so we're all battened down.
Well, residents in Exuma are still trying to assess the damage left behind by the storm. Our Shanique Miller is on that island. She provides us now with this update.
At this hour, we are continuing our assessment of the damage in the aftermath of Hurricane Irene here on the island of Exuma. We are accompanying police teams, immigration, as well as the administrator for the island, Ivan Ferguson, as they go about speaking with residents and also have a first-hand look at the damage left behind in the wake of Irene. The community at McKinsey, persons there, residents there have experienced anyway, from something that's minor to major. We have partial roofs coming off, huge trees uprooted and now just flung into the road as we continue to assess the damage here on this island. I doubt we'll be able to get through this corner, and that's what's been happening right now since early morning. Police teams have been about the island with chainsaws and cutlasses and just by hand trying to remove some of the debris out of the road. Huge trees, tree limbs, fallen power lines and telephone cables, all just strewn across the street as they try and clear the way. Of course, they're continuing to urge residents to stay indoors. If you have no reason to be out on the streets of Exuma this afternoon, stay indoors. Also, the news from Sandals is pretty good in that the property did not sustain any major damage. Of course, there were few windows that were blown out, and the apartments next to the seaside, those were blown out, damage to doors and windows and that type thing. Just minor flooding. However, the decision has been made in that property not to accept any new guests in the property for the foreseeable future. I spoke with General Manager Jeremy Mutton just moments ago, and he said that he wants to stress they will not be accepting any new guests on the property for the foreseeable future because, of course, they have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of blockages in the area. Huge trees were uprooted there as well and are just thrown all over the place, blocking pedestrians as well as motorists. And so Sandals has decided that they're not going to receive any new guests.
Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, the hurricane hunters, they're flying around out there right now. There they are. That's the C-130 aircraft, and they're flying just south of Morehead City, North Carolina right now. And we're seeing pressures. Let's see. It was. Let's get rid of some of these observations here. You can definitely see the turn, but here over the last 3 hours, we've gone from 951 millibars to 953 millibars. So the system is definitely weakening. We have surface winds, and this is what's important because I know earlier we were worried about the big wind event. I saw people boarding up homes and that sort of stuff, and I just don't think that we're going to see much hurricane force winds mixing down to the surface on this because if you look at the wind observations from the hurricane hunters around the eye of Hurricane Irene, there's not a whole lot of sustained hurricane force winds out there. In fact, at the core of this hurricane right now, they're finding maximum flight level winds, surface winds 67 knots. That's barely at hurricane force. And we have 953 millibars, and we have a maximum flight level wind 98 knots. That's about 115 miles per hour, but that's up at 10,000 feet where the planes fly. That's not down at the surface. So that's the latest from the hurricane hunters. Here's the radar. We have the WeatherTap radar in motion this morning, and the system is now moving onshore, so it's done with any potential strength. Another thing to note on this radar loop is the dry air on the south side of this getting pulled into this system. Notice all the dry air down here, and that always happens, and I told Bill this yesterday on the phone, that I expected the bat look to happen with this storm as it makes landfall. And we've seen that in the northern Gulf Coast numerous times where systems are making their way onshore and dry air from a cold front comes behind it and wraps into the system and chokes it off. And so we have a lot. The reason I say bat look is look at it. Well, let me get rid of that other line here. It has the definition of a bat like that. And so that's why I call it the bat look. It just kind of looks like bat wings. On the backside of the hurricane as they move onshore, and that's that dry air moving in and choking the system off and weakening. HurricaneTrack.com, they're out in the Outer Banks.
You're most certainly welcome. So, Sir Fisher, are you the same one as Late Night just a minute ago?
No, Late Night's up in Ontario.
Late Night's Ontario.
What about?
You need to go on. Yeah, it's all everything along the waterfront is underwater, but it's really bad on the other side.
The waterfront area up there.
Yeah, on this side of downtown, that's underwater, but it's only like 8 inches deep. But it is a surge. Okay. Right. Now, it's the other side you need to see.
And you say, what do you mean by the other side?
There's water on
the other side of the peninsula, or
the other side of Morehead. Yeah, just Go turn around and drive down until you hit water down there.
We'll do it.
You're going to see some serious stuff. It's going to make you go, what the hell? Because, you know, this is a storm surge event without wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are getting pounded by a heavy band of rain right now. You can see what it's doing right here. All this water is pushing towards NC-12, and this is the problem. All the sand coming from the east over there where the ocean is pushing west onto NC-12, and Dare County officials told us that down in Hatteras, they're having major overwash problems, but it hasn't really hit here in the main part of Dare County yet, but they are expecting some major overwash problems. They're expecting these effects from this storm to last 12 hours, but they've got crews ready to take care of the aftermath when all of this settles. Back to you guys.
You notice how wide these beaches are. I keep repeating myself, but it's worth repeating. They were replenished. In fact, they just got it finished just a few weeks ago. That's helping things. What I want to do, you walk through this channel of water where it's a little lower. Boy, that's not bad. It's a little refreshing. Here's that dune line I talked about. Now, had not the beaches been replenished, at high tide on a normal day, the water comes up right about here. Now you throw what we've got going, somewhat of a surge, and that onshore flow, those waves would have been crashing up and maybe over the dune line and getting into some of these beachfront property. I want to get up here. Now it's a little windier up here. I want to try to give you a visual of what I see. I do see some shingles off houses. I don't see any major structural damage. And I don't see any power lines down. I'm looking out towards the main highway. Everything so far looks to be in order. It looks good at this point.
There's a limit. I mean, we know what our limits are. There's our pressure. You can see how it's buffeting the truck. I'm just going to let the motion here. You'll sense the motion just by me holding the camera. This is what the earthquake felt like, by the way.
Really?
Yep. Sitting in my chair, and this is exactly what it felt like.
Ooh, 64.
64 miles per hour.
Broadside to the truck.
You guys on the client services, 66. A gust to 66 on the low end of the Bonner Bridge.
At 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the center of Hurricane Irene was located near latitude 34.7 north, longitude 76.5 west. This was about 5 miles north of Cape Lookout or 95 miles southwest of Nags Head, North Carolina. Storm motion was north-northeast for 15 degrees at 14 miles per hour. Storm intensity was 85 miles per hour.
Okay, again, you're looking at the webcam in Norfolk, Virginia, live streaming webcam in the near the downtown area, and you're listening to the Hurricane WatchNet in the background. I know the audio on the Hurricane WatchNet is you don't hear very much unless the moderator is speaking or somebody is communicating. When there's dead air, you don't really hear anything going on. So we're going to leave that on for a couple of minutes more. Okay, I wanted to quickly show you Mark Sudduth's storm cam from HurricaneTrack.com right on the ocean in, I believe this is in Kitty Hawk, Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina, facing north. And look at that roof damage there on that house, that some shingle damage. This is going to be widespread like this type of damage up and down the eastern seaboard. Shingles, trees down, flooding, but we're not going to see roofs blowing off or anything. But look at the damage to that roof right on the beach there. That indicates when we had damage like that here at Hurricane City from Wilma, that was winds 60 to 80 miles an hour. That's about the kind of damage that kind of wind causes. So that's a pretty cool shot there. We'll leave it on this cam for a little while, put up the Hurricane WatchNet.
Okay, Whiskey 3 Romeo Delta Tango. I have your barometric pressure at figures 9 or 70 millibars. Correction, sustained wind figures 10 to figures 40 miles per hour. Estimated, and gust estimated at figures 65 miles per hour.
Look at these waves coming in. Woo, baby. And look at the mist right on the surface of the water. Man, you know, this storm is on the deck. The wind never organized down here. But I tell you what, the clouds are down here. And there is wind right now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're seeing some hurricane wind now. There's no way I'm going to go out there and stand in this. You understand that, right? Not here. No way. And now it's getting really wild. Look at that. Wow. Man, you don't see stuff like this every day. Holy cannoli.
There are 3 houses that are down the Sandbridge portion of Virginia Beach, had their roofs torn off already. If you look up on the building next to me, one of the hotels here on the boardwalk had its sign completely ripped off just a short while ago. Haven't seen many trees going down the street just yet, but with wind gusts coming up like this, we could definitely be seeing that coming up over the next few hours. The eye is still quite a bit south of the Hampton Roads area.
Storm tides will be high also on the coast, and you add to that the effects of the high waves and the beach erosion and whatnot that's going on out there. It's a very dangerous time if anyone's left out on the islands. Heavy rain, a large area has been getting rain since late yesterday afternoon. We're going to see 5 to 10 and maybe some isolated 15 inches across North Carolina before the storm exits there later today.
I'm going to do a look live with you.
Okay, back up next.
I'm Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. We're here with Mike Watkins. Mike, tell us what's going on with the radar here with Irene.
Well, earlier today we saw the dry slack kind of work its way through the storm, and now it looks like it's trying to reorganize a little bit. As you look here, we're located right around here, and this is what appears to be what's left of the eye. But what we've seen over the last several hours is thunderstorm activity appear to consolidate around that eye, and we think that we're going to get the brunt of that in about the next hour to 2 hours or so. So we're going to be watching very closely. We're going to move down here toward where the sound is and see if we can see that as it comes across the water and toward our location on its way out into the Atlantic.
Okay, this is a live webcam from Norfolk, Virginia, and you can see the water levels rising there. I know it's a little hard to see what's going on in this cam shot, but I believe, I think this is facing towards the ocean, facing toward the northeast. I may be wrong on that, but I think it is facing toward the northeast, and it's a remote cam, and it's controllable, and somebody is moving it around right now. But you can see the winds are pretty steady, but not anything real significant at this time. Again, that eye wall, northern eye wall, is still south of this area, so these winds will really pick up in this area as the northern eye wall moves in. It looks like a boat. Is that a? I don't know what that is moving in the screen there. Looks like something moving in the shot there, like a boat or something. There's definitely something moving there. It looks like a boat. Amazing. I'm hoping it's somebody's manning that boat and it's not a loose vessel that's been pushed by the wind. So there's the latest shot of, and they're measuring 961 millibars in Elizabeth City right now at the bottom of the screen. 961 millibars. And this cam refreshes automatically. Again, this cam can be found, current features Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Click on cam number 1. And this is, they still have power there. You can see the lights on. We can see all the wind is definitely whipping around there because there's white caps on, and this is not the ocean you're looking at. So it's an inland waterway, and they're definitely getting belted pretty good by some high winds in Elizabeth City.
I don't want the Tahoe to float away.
I trust you won't float.
I want to see that gazebo come up. I'm sorry.
You want to see the gazebo float away?
Yeah, that would be incredible. Look at that. That's amazing. I did just tweet it. Oh, man, high tide still has 10 more minutes.
You might want to mention Watkins' track on the tweet because he's got the stills of it before it flooded. Brown, look at it's coming up.
No way. Oh, my goodness.
Better get your GoPro.
Oh, we got to get out of here. Oh, crap.
Told him, you know. I know. The longer you wait, the deeper it gets. Oh, he dropped the camera. It's gone. That's it. I knew it. That's it. Oh.
Gazebo in the water. I mean, the GoPro in the water. It's all right. That's why I have an extra one.
Powered on, get the battery out.
Here. Thank you. So I guess it just blew off. More or less. Park bench. Wow, it is up over the...
It's too wet.
Okay, Mark's ready to go live, ladies and gentlemen, with CNN. We're going to flip back and forth between his feed and Wolf Blitzer during the interview.
Put your brights on.
Coming in from Roanoke Sound in North Carolina, courtesy of our next guest, Mark Sudduth. He's a hurricane chaser, founder of the website hurricanetrack.com. He's joining us on the phone from Roanoke Sound right now. Give us a little sense how this hurricane compares to some of the other hurricanes that we all are very familiar with.
Oh, it's hard to compare it, Wolf. It's unpredictable. It has done the opposite of what we thought it would do, and it has had
many surprises. So, mainly the intensity forecast, a very unique hurricane.
This hurricane, is it so unique because of its size, not necessarily the wind speed, but the size? It covers a huge area.
Oh, absolutely. It left Africa more than 2 weeks ago, I think, as a strong tropical wave, very large envelope of energy. It grew using the heat of the tropics into a very large hurricane. This is something that can be studied perhaps by meteorologists and college scholars for years to come. A very interesting and very damaging hurricane for a lot of people.
What do we expect? What would you expect, like, in the next several hours? What should we be bracing for?
Well, that's a great question. If anybody's been watching all of the coverage today down in North Carolina and Virginia, that's what's coming up to the northeast. Take that as a hint as to what's coming your way. The live video here of this restaurant and the Volkswagen underneath, that could be places along the eastern parts of New Jersey up into the northeast, New York, Long Island, that area. There's no way to predict exactly what can happen, but take a clue from what you have seen in the Carolinas and Virginia as it's all moving into the northeast corridor.
Those are live pictures from your website, hurricanetrack.com. How did that Volkswagen wind up there? Tell us what we're seeing.
Well, somebody parked it there and I guess didn't know their hurricane hazards, I guess. It's funny because all the geese that were under there a little while ago evacuated.
Back out a little bit here. This is the Roanoke Sound. Just a couple of hours ago, you could walk out into the Roanoke Sound hundreds of yards and just be in sand and muck because it had blown it all in that
direction, away from where we are. But the wind changed direction, the gravity let go, and everything has come back this way with the wind flow. Now the water's rising rapidly.
Give our viewers up in the north, let's say in New York and New England, some advice. What should they be doing now?
The best advice I can give them is to listen to the instructions from their local officials, and those folks are going to have the information for them to help prepare them for what is to come, especially for recovery. The local emergency management is the main voice for each community. They have plans in place. And a lot of that information can be found on social media, so use it and use it wisely.
Good advice, Mark Sudduth from hurricanetrack.com. Thanks very much for joining us. Let's stay in North Carolina right now.
Is this really happening?
Look over there.
Right.
Look where it's crossing the highway, dude.
Crossing.
Okay, folks, we're looking at the live radar from WeatherTap of the southeast Virginia area as Hurricane Irene is passing just off the coast. Hope you enjoyed the little interview there with Mark Sudduth and Wolf Blitzer. And we went back and forth a few times to record from Mark's perspective and from CNN's perspective. So I hope you enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty neat. And that surge is coming up in the Outer Banks, and the surge is also coming up in Virginia. I actually am pulling, and Bill is heading out again. We'll have his live video up in a minute. That's a good gust right there. That's a good gust.
Big gust
yeah.
right here. Damn. Watch out. Watch out. I'm dodging limbs.
Now what happened? Just describe what happened. A limb came near you or something?
Yeah. I had to duck. It went over the roof. It just scared me. It was above my head.
Now do you happen
got
to...
limbs falling all over the place now. Leaves starting to strip the trees. This is crazy. Another big... I'm soaked this time, bud.
All right, I'm going to check back in just for a second to Mark's cam and see how high the water's gotten over there at his location. These guys are walking out into the surge, and it's up to their, just up to their,
roll with that, bud.
Up past their knees, and they're out in the middle of the road.
Good gust now. Don't flip it yet, but it might be coming. This wind sounds like a low-pitched rumbling engine noise. Like it's being revved in like second or third gear. It's not in the highest gear, but it's noisy.
Okay, that car on the Mark shot looks like it's floating now. It's not where it was before. It's still trapped underneath that parking garage, but it's trying to budge its way out of there.
Oh, boy. Still have power, amazingly, in Virginia Beach. Look at this.
Yeah, you got one band coming right in right now, right into Virginia Beach. Yeah, I can hear the wind now.
Hello.
What a great shot right there.
Yeah, that is a good shot. Well, that water's really coming in on the Outer Banks right now. Woo! Now the entire road is covered that they were driving on.
Soundside flooding, I would assume, or is that off? Yeah. Wind backs off for a minute.
It's up to their knees. They're walking in it right now. Or somebody is.
Wow.
Now, how high are you above sea level at your location?
About 10 feet up.
Okay. So this tide gauge out here at Chesapeake would have to probably get up around 12 feet to get to you.
Yeah, and I'm also 10 miles back.
That's what I mean. It would have to get much higher than your 10-foot sea level to get to your location. So I'd have to get up 12, 13 feet. That's a good gust.
It would almost have to be a Cat 4, Cat 5 for me to flood.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. Nice gust here.
Yeah.
Power not even flickering. I'm stunned.
It's really amazing. But again, usually
everything's underground.
but it's usually when it passes by and starts pulling away that the power outages happen. So keep an eye on that. Starting to lose the daylight on Mark's cam, but that water's really blowing in there big time.
Yeah, it's starting to get dark here too. Although not yet. I mean, we got a little bit of time. There just went a big-ass limb that just went off the roof across the way.
Yeah, that was a hell of a gust there. That's a
Man,
good...
I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. This is awesome. This is great. Look at this. Wow.
Checking out Mark's cam, that VW is about to make its way out of that garage. It's starting to make its exit.
Damn, large piece of limb just fell off the roof. Getting a little dangerous out here, Jim.
Okay, we're now at 7.28 feet on the gauge at Chesapeake Bay.
Damn.
44 knots, gusting to 52. So you're getting gusts there probably around 60, 65.
All right.
Well, those bands keep deepening out in the water, man. They're really getting belted out in the water. Still showing northeast winds. Pressure's 960, about 965 millibars. Yeah, apparently that is the eye. Moving out over the water, well to the southeast of Virginia Beach.
Dude, it smells to high heaven out there.
Yeah, there's some garbage that was out there.
Yeah, their landscaping is good.
Who knows?
Could be sewage too, bro.
Yeah.
You know, somebody has a septic tank.
Good thing they built this bleep on stilts.
Yeah, flooding.
See the water?
Yep.
Just look at that for a minute, and I'll bring it up to the trees.
Just leave it at the water for a bit. Now that is rainwater. We're not talking surge here, folks.
It's fresh water. Rainwater.
My son is in that house, you know, or something. A fire official says when they arrived, the mother was trying to climb back into the apartment to look for her son. It took first responders almost an hour to recover the child. First, there were power lines to turn off, and a large crane was brought in to bring down the tree. Sadly, the little boy didn't make it. He was pronounced dead at the scene.
So sad. Check the cam, Jim.
It is currently 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time, and we have the center of circulation right over just north of Atlantic City, New Jersey, heading very quickly to the north towards Long Island. There's the current radar shot. We have several webcams up and operating this morning. Let's take a look at them. First of all, let's go to Tony Mondero's cam, and this is from the Harrison Weather Center in New Jersey. And this is west of the city of New York. And you can see it's a still image. It refreshes every few minutes, but a lot of heavy rain. That's what they're expecting up in this area. The wind is not going to be as big of a problem. They're going to get gusts up to tropical storm force like we saw yesterday, probably even lighter than what we saw yesterday down in the mid-Atlantic states. And then we're going to see a lot of heavy rain and some minor surge flooding. We're already reporting surges about 2 to 4 feet above normal, but so far there hasn't really been any breaches, any major breaches, but the tide is still rising and the storm is still moving in, so we still have yet to see what's going to happen with that. Okay, let's take a look at Asbury Park, New Jersey. This is south of New York City, and you can see the winds whipping around pretty good here on Asbury Park. This is right on the coast of New Jersey, maybe inland just a tad, maybe a mile inland. And you can notice the trees whipping around pretty good out there. Naturally, a lot of rain. And we'll keep an eye on this camp all morning and see when the power goes out. So far, it looks like the power is on. This person contacted me with this webcam yesterday and said that they have it on a UPS, but that there's no generator backup for this webcam. So we'll keep an eye on this webcam from Asbury, New Jersey. And, of course, we have Fred's streaming live webcam in Long Island, New York. And Fred doing a great job keeping his cam up. Look at those trees whipping around. It's really kicking up there pretty good in Long Island. Now, Fred, we'll maybe get some information from Fred with his weather observations and such throughout the morning. We're just getting set up here after a long night of tracking Irene through the mid-Atlantic states, and now we're getting geared up this morning here. So we'll be back with another update on Fred's cam and weather observations as the center moves on shore.
But when I was walking through there, it was about 3 feet or so. Now I think it's probably about 4 to 5 feet of water in there.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's rising, obviously.
Rising and rising quickly.
That's the situation.
It certainly seems like we have to move the truck fairly soon again.
And water's going into the street and going to hit the tires of that truck.
That's what I was told by us. Well, look, here's a big surge right there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah,
there goes
that's
the lifeguard
it. All right. There goes the lifeguard shack. Wow.
These are dramatic pictures, NJ, that we're seeing, and John Lyles, the photographer, is on this. The lifeguard tower has just come loose from its foundation and slammed into the boardwalk. From there, when the storm surge continues, breaking apart, I'm worried about that anyway, because it is nothing holding that building together. It's boarded up there, you see, but it's now loose from its moorings and is just resting against the boardwalk. As the tide rises, NJ, I'm sure those people are going to be worried about what's going to happen to the structural integrity of that. And as the wind continues, all those railings and any loose particles could come flying.
Right, and I'm sure police feeling somewhat helpless at this point, because as they watch this lifeguard building break apart, there's really not much that they can do right now with the worst of the storm still approaching.
We have had problems on the Long Island Expressway with closures due to flooding. The Wantaw Parkway, Southern State Parkway, and Northern State Parkway, pockets of flooding. We have down power lines, down trees, the things that are associated with a tropical storm. And where you are reporting from, where NJ's reporting from, the storm surge area is still of great concern to us.
And it's not over yet. Ed Mangano, Nassau County Executive. This is not over. In fact, we still have 90 minutes before we hit a high tide.
Here, the expected tide was 3.9. We're at 6.8, which is 3 feet above normal, and that's about what we're seeing all over the affected areas right now. Near the core of Hurricane Irene is about a 3-foot rise in water on average. And these are all the drop-down menu or the menus at our current feature, Long Island, New York. And let's check. Let's check some data closer to Fred here. Here's Freeport, Long Island. Now this is just south of Fred here, and we're looking at 2.5 feet, maximum 6.9. So we're looking at about 4 feet above normal at Fred's location, and we're at 6.9. So we're about 4 feet above normal, which is about what we're seeing all over there. Is anywhere 3 to 4 feet above normal tide projections coming in there right now. We have a caller on the line?
Hey, Jim, Tony Mondero, how are you?
Oh, good, Tony. How are things holding up over there this morning?
We need boats. We're under a lot of water, anywhere from 10 to 15 inches of rain across northern New Jersey. Right now, we've had some wind gusts along our barrier islands this morning, as high as around 70 miles an hour in some of the weather flow gauges. The wind gauges that we have down there along the Jersey Shore. And here in Harrison, where we are at our weather station, We have a lot of flooding, Jim, a lot of freshwater flooding. The tide's starting to come in, and people still don't want to turn around. They want to drive through these floodwaters. We have numerous water rescues going on right now in the town of Kearney and also in the town of Harrison.
Okay, so how much rain have you measured at your location?
Right, here at the Weather Center, we just did our co-op report for the Weather Service this morning. And let's see what we gave them as a storm total. The storm total that we just gave them was 7.63 inches for the event, and still raining pretty good here. But I see that we're starting to get a little dry area to the south of us, so let me cut off there. And 16.11 is going to be our monthly total here.
Right.
So almost doubled our monthly total. With the one rain event here. We're getting some basement flooding and stuff like that. The only thing that we've had earlier in the event, but not really too recently, and it's kind of been for me, a guy who always wanted to live through a hurricane, really hasn't been that much wind to write home about here. The highest wind gust that we've recorded in our county so far, in our county weather mesonet, was 60 miles an hour, and that was in Jersey City at what we call Site 3 at Tropicana. And the runners-up have all been in the 40s, such as Harrison at 48 miles an hour, and Union City at around 40 to 45 miles per hour.
All right, now, Tony, I have your cam up right now.
Sure.
And we have some cars sitting out front there. It does not look like that road is flooded at all right there.
No, not at all. That only does it when we really have very heavy rainfall. Roads flooded right now in Harrison and having water rescue problems are roads such as Passaic Avenue, Harrison Avenue. They've got the water rescues going. The other roads that have been closed and overtopped with water is down by Red Bull Arena called Rogers Boulevard South. That's near the Newark line, and also First Street, which is by the old high school stadium, which overtops with water. A lot of those roads, Jim, are also near the Passaic River, so there's some tidal. The water gets into the sewer systems and everything like that, too. Tidal concern.
Looking at the radar, and it looks to me like you should be pretty much in about the worst of it right now, and things should start getting better here shortly.
Yeah, I've actually seen it a lot worse a little earlier this morning, Jim, as some of those bands were coming across, and we had those winds between 35 and 45 miles an hour. Really never sustained that well. We may have sustained 20 to 30 here, but then again, we're not, we're about we're in western Hudson County, and I would say that's a good 5 to 7 miles away from eastern Hudson County, which would be closer to the ocean. So we're set back a little bit. It seems like our coastal areas did a heck of a lot better wind-wise than we did here.
Okay, we have a radar up right now. We're talking to Tony Mondero from the Harrison Weather Center up in Harrison, New Jersey, and we have the circle on the map showing his general location, which is in New Jersey, west of New York, the city of New York, and we're seeing pretty decent amount of rainfall that is beginning to pull out of the area, but the south side of the storm, Tony, is really dry. Look at all this dry air down here, so things are going to really clear out in a hurry.
Too, Jim. We're rooting for it to be dry and get over with. To make a long story short, I was an evacuee that Governor Christie said, "Get the hell off the beach." Well, I wasn't on the beach. I was actually in the hotel tracking the storm and listening to Hurricane City.
Okay.
when he was giving that order. A lot of people evacuated now. Whether or not he took everybody off that Jersey Shore, that's debatable. That would be probably one of the most successful evacuations ever if he did an evacuation in only 24 to 48 hours and took over 1 million people off the Jersey Shore. I kind of doubt he did that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people probably sheltered in place. And, Jim, you've worked many of real storms. To me, we get nor'easters worse than this here. It's debatable whether this is still a hurricane. I don't know if you would argue that with me. I couldn't find any sustained hurricane force winds anywhere, last night while we were tracking the storm. And I'm just afraid when the real one does come here, we really get, sustained winds of hurricane force, even Category 1 or better, a lot of people are not going to listen because of this.
Oh, I bet your radios are buzzing pretty good there, huh?
It's crazy here. That's why I figured let me try to talk to you off air for a second. But since we're on the air, the hell with it. We'll go with the stuff in the background and everything. We're everybody's talking. Everybody's having problems with rescue problems right now. All right, thank you, Jim.
Thanks a lot.
All right,
take care. All right, that's Tony Mondero, Harrison Weather Center. We're watching the ABC news station of the surge coming in, the wind blowing. Now we have flood warnings all over the place, flash flood warnings. Just talked to Tony. He's had about 7 to 8 inches of rain in Harrison, New Jersey, just west of New York City, and Fred's showed about the same thing, although he didn't have as much as 7. He had more like 5 or 6 inches of rain, and then he's got the totals for the month around 16 inches. So. Okay, what you're looking at is a tide gauge from the Battery, New York on your screen, and the red area right up in here indicates that the high water has stabilized at this point. We're at 8.39 feet, which the normal expected high tide would be 5.25 feet. So we're talking about a difference of 3.14 feet above normal projections for the tidal surge in the Battery, 3.14 feet, and that's what you're seeing on the local news with the tide coming in and the water rushing into the streets immediately up against the beaches, and that's because of a roughly 3.5 foot tidal surge, and you put the wave action on top of it, it pushes the water in. Now we have the pressure down around 970 millibars as this comes on shore. And we have air temperature 70.5 degrees, water temperature 71.2 degrees. So there's our current position of Hurricane Irene this morning, moving in on Long Island, New York, as a 75-mile-an-hour hurricane. And again, most of the winds are already onshore, the highest winds they're going to receive, and this is about the highest winds they're going to get.
Absolutely incredible. I would say 20 feet high. Look at this. And just unbelievable. I haven't seen it like this in a long time. Look at all this plywood and all the debris down here. Oddly enough, I was just speaking to the owner of the boardwalk, and he tells me they don't think they took such a bad hit after all. Jimmy?
Well, when you look at the chop on the East River, you definitely get a sense that something is happening. The water's coming in substantially more forcefully. We have a Con Edison drain, drain cover about a half a block from here. I looked into that. That's filling up. That's of great concern because New York's power lines are underground. New York doesn't suffer from the fact that a tree falls on a power line and cuts power. All our power lines, like the subways, are all underneath, and that's a problem for power. I'm still seeing power on around me. So we have not seen a loss of power here. A lot of police vehicles and Con Edison vehicles in this part of New York. And again, people walking around. It doesn't seem harmful out here. It doesn't feel harmful. But this East Bank, the East River, has topped its bank.
More than 1 million people in our area now without power. It hit Coney Island at 8:45 as a tropical storm with 65-mile-an-hour winds.
Tim Fleischer is near Coney Island. He's in Manhattan Beach, Brooklyn, where you can see there is some street flooding there. Tim.
Liz, let me show you that street flooding. It's encompassing several blocks down Shore Boulevard here in Manhattan Beach. That goes for at least 3 blocks this way, and then it swings over to the left and it's encompassed this entire neighborhood over here. You can see the people. It's about knee-deep through there. Those folks stranded over in that apartment building, they've been watching this for a while. Most of this flooding has actually come from back over here. This is an inlet in Sheepshead Bay where they have a lot of the fishing boats, and that water has risen, come up over the top of that railing through the park here, and then flooded this particular area.
New storm reports to pass along to you right now. First of all, part of 10th Avenue, 2 cars stuck in water. That was just before 9 o'clock in the morning. Long Beach, the bay is flooded. We saw that with N.J. Burkett earlier in the day. Most of the town of Lindenhurst reported to be underwater after 9 o'clock in the morning. So check that out. So obviously the pictures we saw on Long Beach have been repeated all along the south shore of Long Island with water coming inland. Dune Road under 3 feet of water in Hampton Bays. And remember when we told you about the potential for 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts in eastern Long Island? In Sayville, 91-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That was just after 7 o'clock this morning. Rainfall estimates on our computer. You see how we're anywhere from about 5 to 7 inches of rainfall. By the time it's all done and collected in all the rain buckets, there'll be some areas that are pushing 10 inches of rain, certainly 8 to 10 inches of rain. This is all going to flow into our area rivers, and we'll have river flood warnings as we go through the next days and obviously maybe even a week or more.
And head south, much further south to Philadelphia, and go to Chad Paradelli, who's joining us from our sister station WPVI, and conditions there. We see a good deal of street flooding there, Chad.
Yes, you talk about a wind event up there in New York. We're definitely having a water event. We're in the Manayunk section of Philadelphia, and we're getting widespread flooding across the city. Take a look behind me. That is Main Street. This is a low-lying area, a flood-prone area. You have about 2 to 3 feet of water right there on the roadway coming from the Schuylkill River. We have the Marine unit over here. They've been around the city, keeping an eye on any rescues they may need to make. They have about 20 personnel on hand. There have been a number of rescues in some of our suburbs. No one seriously injured, and they have been successful rescues. But let me show you where this water's flowing from. If you take a look over here, this is where the Schuylkill River is. And to give you an idea just how bad the flooding is here in Philadelphia, the Schuylkill River is expected to crest at about 15 feet. It hasn't done that in over 150 years, and we keep getting more rain. The water continues to rise. We've had to move our location of where we're shooting. After about 15 minutes, we had to move it about 50 feet. That's how bad the situation here is here in Philadelphia. Our airport is shut down. Our public transportation is shut down, and we're hoping to get a break from this rain so this flooding will finally die down. But that's the latest here in Philadelphia. I'm Chad Paradelli at sister station WPVI. Now back to you, Bill and Liz.
Okay. Going on right now, Bill, you can see, we'll let the pictures do the talking here. We're in Elmsford, and you can see members of the Fairview Fire Department paddling out there. They're going to get some residents who have called in and said they've ridden it out long enough. This is what folks were hoping to avoid, emergency crews were hoping to avoid, hoping that people would have cleared out, but they did not. Part of the reason is because this is a flood-prone area. It floods during regular storms, but what we're hearing from residents is that it hasn't flooded quite like this. One resident says in 40 years of living here, he's never seen it quite like this. Another gentleman said he hasn't had water in his house on the higher part of the street since Tropical Storm Floyd back in 1999. The residents here, some of them have left because they, you have to cut the power to the house once the water gets this high. The water you are seeing, that is actually the Sawmill River that has come over its banks. On the other side, behind those houses, is the parkway. That's why, those parkways flood. They were closed since last night, and the water simply has nowhere to go. It comes over its banks, and firefighters here say they expect to make a couple of trips. Not clear exactly how many people they're going to take out of that house there. When we got here, we saw people waving to us, and it was clear that they were kind of stuck. And if you look at, I don't know, Brian, if you can go in a little bit, there's a hose coming out of the front. That is a pump. I guess they're trying to pump out some of the water, which is now on the first floor of the house. Forget about basements. In this area, basements are virtually non-existent. But really, I mean, how much is that really helping? Because the water that is being pumped out is coming right back.
Here's a live cam from New York City, and you can see people are coming close to the river's edge here to take a look at the water overlapping, but not as high as what was expected. We had a total peak. Actually, let me pull up the latest surge information from the affected areas here, where you're seeing that cam shot at the Battery. And here we go. The tide gauge here is going down, as you can see. It peaked out about 9.5 feet a little while ago up in this area, and now it's going down. It's about 7.78 feet, so the water levels are lowering. So those rescues you're looking at there are probably going to be ending soon because that water's heading down. Okay, here's Fred's cam on Long Island once again. Fred is in Belmore, Long Island, and this is the cam shooting out of his front of his home, and we keep track of this cam whenever there's snowstorms and nor'easters and that sort of thing, and usually there's a bunch of snow piled up out there, but Fred's got his cam going, people walking around. The wind looked like the wind has calmed down quite a bit from the way it was earlier, but Fred sent me an email. This was from about, this was from about 2 hours ago. Pretty nasty here. I have not been out yet, but I'm sure there are a lot of trees down. I've been lucky enough to still have power. 284,000 people are without power, and my anemometer has to be off, definitely. Just had a higher gust. I was looking at his observations earlier, and it showed 28 miles an hour. I think the problem with his anemometer is it's obstructed. Somehow there's trees in the way or something blocking that anemometer, because I know those winds have to be stronger than 28 miles an hour. And then I got an email a little while ago from him. This was maybe an hour and a half ago. I tried to get out and drive around. A tree was blocking 2 streets. He tried a 3rd street and was driving down the street, and a tree came down right in front of him, about 20 to 30 feet in front of his truck, and it scared the hell out of him. He turned around and went back home. He's going to go out later and see the damage and broadcast it on Ustream. This is not unexpected. We expected to see a lot of power outages due to the wind and minor surge flooding as this system would wind down from a Category 1 to a tropical storm. And now you see the rain is moving out. So all of Long Island and New York City should start clearing up here in the next hour or two, and then it should be clear skies, not clear skies, but no rain as there's just dry conditions in behind Hurricane Irene. His outside temperature currently 71 degrees, barometer is 28.69 inches. That's still like Category 2 type pressure. Actually, yeah, that was about 15 minutes ago. That's pretty low pressure. We have a dew point of 71. It feels like 68 outside with the wind chill. And we, of course, have 100% humidity. And let's go ahead and put the audio back up. He has the scanner going from his local area. Let's hear what they're saying for a little while.
Falling, or are they just crackling? Look to the boat, 3. All right, 23 will make a second call.
St. Mark's, you can't get down.
Okay, how's the water?
No, there's a tree. Doesn't look like wires. We might be able to get rid of it.
All right, how's the water situation?
No, it's clear.
Along the river, at least. I expected to be looking at a river when I checked out the Sawmill River Parkway in Hastings, but while it is shut down, it's not underwater. As for the mighty Hudson River, it rose about 5 feet above its banks, but stopped short of flooding the railroad tracks. Now, down at a beautiful park and playground right on the river banks, people are there with their cameras checking out the site.
The crews are searching them now. We don't know if anybody was inside when they were swept away. And since the storm began, fire crews have responded to about 47 crew calls. EMS crews to about 12 units, far more than normal for both departments. Live at the Emergency Operations Center in Brooklyn, Steve Knight, WCBS 880 is
Now checking in CBS traffic and weather together. Been guided to send damage in the traffic center.
Absolutely, and we've got, of course, flooding closures and a whole bunch of downed trees throughout the area. Keep that in mind no matter where you're heading. If you cannot get through, that is the strong possibility of flooding.
The storm continues to move to the north and east at about 25 miles an hour. Meanwhile, across the tri-state area right now, mostly cloudy sky. A little bit of lower clouds and some sprinkles, I think, in northwestern New Jersey shouldn't be a factor. But the flood warnings do continue for much of the tri-state areas. The rivers and streams do continue to rise.
Outages and high wind. We have batteries, flashlights, food. We were not ready for all of this water. I just watched as they pulled out of the parking lot in their SUV, searching for a place to get warm and dry. They say they have no place to go. It's a very sad story. Live in Hyde Park, New York, Deborah Rodriguez, WCBS 880 News.
Our coverage continues across the area as we head to Cranford, New Jersey. WCBS traffic reporter Tom Kaminsky surveying the damage there. Tom?
Well, Steve, if you look at the flood zone map of this town, there's a 100-year line and a 500-year line, and it would appear that we are at around the 500-year level.
About 300 different road closures or obstructions currently exist across the state. We're working to post signs to where the roads are closed due to flooding or downed wires or downed trees or other obstructions. Good news is the turnpike and the bridges are clear, so we have the ability to get equipment where we need to get it. Crews are pushing aside and removing debris from roadways where it's safe to do so.